morning. How's everyone doing? All right? Good to be here. Hi there to the digital congregation if you're back from your toilet break. We haven't had that luxury. I'm going to start with a question this morning. How many of you have watched Would I Lie to You? It's like a 30-minute TV show, yeah, quite a few. A wilty, if you like hashtags. So it's Rob Brighton, and he hosts three contestants, so two teams of three contestants, and they have to read out a scenario, and the other team have to work out if the scenario they're reading is a truth or a lie. Okay, fairly simple. But some of the things that they read out are so far-fetched. I mean, it's absolutely unbelievable. You think there's no way that could be true. And then you think, well, that is so far-fetched and so unbelievable, it must be true, or they just wouldn't have chosen to, write that on the card. Anyway, the viewers that can also then join in and participate, wondering, was it going to be a truth or is it going to be a lie? And they are trying to sort the fact from the fiction. And I find this kind of TV viewing quite helpful and quite a useful skill for life. For example, if my children say to me, I've got no homework, or everybody has those trainers, or I definitely did not eat the last chocolate button, then I need to know if I'm sorting the fact from the fiction. So I imagine there are quite a few reasons why you have come here this morning or why you've clicked online. One of the reasons that I come to church, one of the many reasons, is that during my week I am bombarded by messages, WhatsApps, emails, things that come at me, adverts, everything in the media that plays with my head. They're all vying for space in my mind, competing for attention and the ways of shaping my decisions, my choices, my attitudes, if I'm not vigilant, if I'm not taking care of what I fill my mind with. And so I come back here on a Sunday, or I choose to switch online, and I remind myself of the true things that anchor me. So here we are together on our Sabbath, the closing of one week, the beginning of another, at a time where we can think about some of the truths that anchor us in our lives so that we can sort the fact from the fiction in the rest of our week with all the messages that come up at us. Some of the songs we've sung this morning, yours is the kingdom. I mean, what a great reminder. Yours is the kingdom. It's not mine, not my little kingdom, Lord. Yours is the kingdom. You reign. Oh yes, for a moment I'd forgotten. I'd taken my eyes off you as the week has gone on. But you reign, Lord. And I remind myself of these truths, and I love doing it corporately with everybody here. So last week, as Archie mentioned, Johnny, our associate vicar, started our series on true love, the nature of love, God's love for us and our love for each other. I mean, there's general consensus, isn't there, really, that love is fairly important. I mean, Wet, 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 remember them? Sang Love is All Around. Or you've got the Beatles, It's All You Need. Meatloaf sang. Would we do anything for it? Remember those? The playlist, of course, is absolutely endless, isn't it? But what about the true love amidst all this noise? Where can we find the truth? Well, obviously, there's certain places we can go. What about inspirational quotes? I mean, there's the thing. You can find them anywhere these days. Inspirational quotes, ways of holding truth in your mind. So last week, one of my daughters needed a 30-centimetre ruler for school. But her pencil case is not 30 centimetres long, so apparently you can buy these rulers now that fold in half and then they fit inside your pencil case. So a few clicks later, and the next day, feeling quite efficient, a 4-pack arrived of rulers I've got 3 children, so brilliant, one spare one. Anyway, I opened them up only to find my definition of love. I mean, who knew that a 10-year-old needed to know that love is pressing the flower from the bouquet he gave you? I mean, that was the inspirational quote. Totally rubbish, I'm afraid. So I thought, okay, stationery, that could be one place to find inspirational quotes. What about a definition from the dictionary? I mean, surely that's going to be a bit more solid. The Collins English Dictionary. Love. A feeling of affection towards someone you're romantically attracted to. I mean, it leaves me cold. I mean, really. Feeling, Feelings, is that the best the English dictionary can do? I mean, we all know what happens with our feelings. They just come and go. I mean, I feel like going to church. I'll go. I don't feel like going to church. I won't bother. I feel like I'm valued by my friend. I'm going to like their post. Not really feeling it with that friend. I'm going to block them. But then the stakes are a bit higher if we commit ourselves, like I did 23 years ago in marriage. I feel deeply attracted to you. Let's get married. I feel a bit taken for granted. Leaving your pants on the floor again. Yeah, I'm off. No, that doesn't happen anymore. 23 years, for example. Somebody else gave me that example. So here we are, looking at some verses in 1 Corinthians. 1 Corinthians 13. Maybe you've been to weddings and people read these verses. Maybe they're familiar with you. Paul introduces this with, "Now I will show you the most excellent way." And I imagine him there, maybe with his feather pen and his little ink pot, or maybe he's dictating it to his scribe. Love. Okay, what can we write about love? Okay, it's patient. It's kind. It doesn't envy. It doesn't boast. It's not proud. It's not self-seeking. Wait, hang on. That kind of love, is that the truth or is that the lie? Because that feels really, really different to the messages that I see around me, the films that I watch or the digital media that I consume. That's a really different message. I mean, I'm imagining if Hollywood were to write an epistle to us, let's call it 1 Brightonians, and chapter 13, I think, would read a little bit like this. I will show you the most entertaining way. Love, which in my head I'm spelling L-U-V because I can't quite bring myself to really call it real love. Love is impulsive and immediate. It barges through, headstrong. It wants what it doesn't have. It thinks itself superior and justifies its actions because of its name. Love always makes you feel happy. Love, L-U-V, me, first, now. That's what I feel like our culture tells us. I mean, is this the truth or is this the lie? I mean, it's hard not to be taken in, isn't it, by the romantic comedies? I mean, I watched one at Christmas, quite an old one. I'm sure you'll know it. It tracks the stories of about 8 different couples, parts of their journey, and it all sort of intertwines. You've got a married man in the dangerous stages of an affair, the early stages. You can see what might happen. Or you have a young woman who is bombarded by phone calls from her brother, who she really loves, but she can't refuse his phone calls. Or you've got a prime minister having a secret kiss behind a curtain. Or was it a party? I'm not sure about that. But anyway, I wonder if that film should have been perhaps not love, actually. It's not really, is that the truth about love? Those stories that we see there. The true love that God has for us, that we celebrate when we come here together, is much more profound, isn't it? It's much richer, it's much more longer lasting than that we see. 1 John 4, this is love. Finally, a definition perhaps that we might really want to think on. God sent his son as a sacrifice. So this is love. God demonstrates his love. He gives his son to us. This isn't a feeling of affection kind of love. And this is our stake in the ground, isn't it? This is the vertical beam of the cross. This is planted firmly here on earth, pointing eternally upwards to our God, who's not sort of mooching around on the clouds, waiting for a blue sky day where he feels, quite good, or he's had enough sugar and feels good about loving the people around him. That's not the kind of Emmanuel that we celebrate here together. This is our God of love, come close to us, given himself to us. This is how we sort the fact from the fiction. This is our plumb line. This is what we can compare it against for true love. We're going to look at 3 aspects then that Paul writes about in the 1 Corinthians section. The Passion Translate puts it like this: love is large and incredibly patient. I love that. Love is large and incredibly patient. It holds back. Love says, you first. Love listens before it speaks. Love waits, hears the other side of the argument before coming to a conclusion. Love isn't in a hurry. Love is large and incredibly patient. Yesterday, I was driving one of my children around Brighton, and I know I need to change my car usage habits. I need to be a little bit more preferential to our world. I'm absolutely conscious of that. But I actually quite like driving. I like driving round, but I like green light driving. Saturday in Brighton, that is a test of anybody's patience. So I think I found the problem. The problem is the amber lights. Amber lights. I am stopped at red, I'm revving by the end of red, and I'm good to go. Straight, good to go. I don't understand why the other drivers haven't really got this yet. People in front of me, they're still taking their time. I'm good to go right at the end of red. I don't need amber. Maybe amber's the colour of patience, Mandy. You don't need to just slam on the brakes and stop suddenly, or suddenly get going again. Slow down. Don't be so quick to speak. Don't be so quick to jump in with your opinion, Mandy. Amber. The amber light. Patience can be cultivated, can't it? It's one of the fruits of the Spirit. When we have the Holy Spirit inside us, it's something that we find grows. Well, I'm hopeful. I've maybe got a little bit more patient. I don't know, Steve-O, 23 years, a little bit more patient than I used to be, maybe. Listening to my children at bedtime, that takes a bit of patience sometimes. Or being in a conversation with a friend and not finishing her sentences because I think, can we move this conversation along a bit? I know what you're going to say. Patience, Mandy. Don't need to finish the sentence. Let her come up with her own words. It's a little bit more loving. Some of my friends are giggling quite loudly. It's confusing, isn't it? Because LUV love, it is impulsive and it's immediate. And that's what we often see played out on our screens. And if I may, can I just call out a really obvious confusion between love and lust? Lust is impulsive and immediate. Colin, in the film I've mentioned, racing from London to America to find American girls, that's lust. Jumping into bed with somebody who you've just met, which is pretty commonplace in most films you watch, that's lust, not love, because love is patient. Love is patient. Remember our mythical epistle is entertainment. This is the most entertaining way. Entertainment, sex sells. It's like an obvious. It's kind of, we'll just put the sex thing in there because that'll sell my film. It's a money-making thing. But we're sorting the fact from the fiction, so we know that. We know that that's not the best. That's not the true love that we celebrate. How many teenagers or students or any of us actually today might have that quiet moment after an encounter thinking, well, I had to sleep with them because I had to prove I loved them. I know that was what expected of me after 3 dates. 3 dates. I really need to jump into bed after that. I've got to prove that I love them. Wait, everybody, wait, the world. Hang on a little bit. We don't have to be in such a hurry. We don't have to be in such a hurry. And let me help you sort a little bit of fact from the fiction. Do you know there are still people who wait until they get married before they have sex? That's actually a truth. Some people even choose that still. Hang on, let's just slow down a little. Love is patient. 1980s song, Phil Collins. While I was preparing this talk, I had it on repeat. You can't hurry love. You just got to wait. It's a game of give and take. You can't hurry love. I wanted to get it all queued up so we could all have a little boogie and maybe some of us could remember Phil Collins. It's great, you can YouTube it. Love is patient, and love is kind. Love is gentle and consistently kind to all, says the Passion Translation. Kindness is talked about a lot today, isn't it? And rightly so. It's a good thing. It's an intentional, obvious way of showing our love for another. It's what we teach our children. Be kind to each other. It's what we expect of our colleagues, and they expect of us. Repetition can sort of desensitize it a bit sometimes, can't it? And sort of lose the transformational impact of kindness. I'm a language teacher by training, and I have a bit of a soft spot for grammar. So I like verbs and I like apostrophes in the right place. And I like the subjunctive and silly things like that nobody else is really that interested in. But I remember my teacher in primary school, Mrs. Worthington was her name, a very kind, incredibly inspirational teacher. In fact, she was my inspiration to become a teacher. So those of you who are teachers, don't underestimate the inspirational nature of what you do for your kids. It's an amazing job. Anyway, Mrs. Worthington taught me, when I was in primary school, about nouns and verbs. Nouns are things, and a verb is a... You see, you still remember, verbs is a doing word. It's a doing word. You have to do something about a verb. I mean, Collins English Dictionary could redeem itself because there is an entry for noun and there is an entry for verb. So I was pleased about that. Nouns and verbs. Love is a verb. Have you heard people say, well, it is the thought that counts? I mean, it's partially true, isn't it? But when I was in my COVID isolation, if my neighbour thought, I'm really thinking about her. That's such a pain that she can't get to the chemist and get some paracetamol. Oh, yeah, that is a shame. Poor her. I mean, I guess she can go in 10 days and then that'll be all right. I mean, her thought, it was nice that she thought of me, but actually what she did was she went and got me the paracetamol and some fruit and a whole load of stuff and left it on the doorstep. And I mean, that was more than the thought that counts. That was her kind actions. And then the thing is, as if she's then ill, I'm likely to think, oh yeah, she was kind to me, I'll probably be kind to her. Because the thing about kindness is that it breeds quite a positive feedback loop. Have you discovered that? You know, when you're kind to someone else, suddenly you find it comes back to you, you reap what you sow. And that's really powerful, actually. It creates an atmosphere that overcomes misunderstandings, overcomes conflict. It helps to heal things that have gone wrong between friends or siblings or parents or children. The Pope Francis, he writes this: kindness frees us from the cruelty that infects human relationships. I mean, kind actions is one of the 5 love languages. You might know of that concept. We talk about it on the pre-marriage course, on the marriage course that Archie mentioned. It's an active way of showing our love for someone. I mean, incidentally, the marriage course, if you don't know it, since I've got the mic, is something we run at St. Peter's every term, and it's for every couple in a long-term committed relationship, and we really recommend that people do it every sort of 5 years or so. Keep revising it to keep a strong relationship. I highly recommend it to you if you haven't quite got round to it just yet. Kindness can break the stalemate in a marriage. It can break the stalemate in any relationship, actually. It's powerful. But there's not so many love songs, are there, about kindness? Have you ever noticed that? I mean, I haven't ever heard of a sort of breathy, oh, your kindness is just intoxicating. Never heard it. I mean, quick side note here, as well as being a school chaplain, I also work for a charity that helps young people to understand healthy relationships and sex. I really like this part of my job. I find it absolutely vital that we help people to sift through the fact and the fiction. Because I'm so sorry, you young people, I mean, I feel I'm quite young still, but not quite as young as some other people, of who many are here now. I mean, this is a difficult world for young people to understand what true love is, because all the stuff at them tells them that it's impulsive and it's right now, and it's me first. And we have to, so we adults, if you've got young people in your lives, speak up, help them with this. This is something we need to help each other with and help our young people understand, to rescue. Now, they're kind of fighting for breath here, working out what true love and real healthy relationships are about. There's a problem, you see, with the online thing, and I'll just quickly throw this in as well, because there's quite a lot of violence you can find online in the form of online pornography. It's not harmless fun, by the way. It's not a way of finding out what love is. The pornography scene is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and I don't think there's a great deal that resembles kindness in there, neither for the sort of coerced performer or the creator or the consumer. There's not a great deal of kindness there. Love is kind. Love is kind. The Naked Truth project that I work with, by the way, has a website. If that's an issue that you know friends can struggle with, there's a recovery program and all sorts of things, because freedom obviously is the way forward there. Love is kind, consistently gentle. It's a doing word. You're inviting the slightly awkward colleague to grab a bite to eat at lunch. That's a kind thing to do. It doesn't cost a huge amount of effort in the end. And finally, love doesn't envy. It doesn't boast. It's not proud. In the Passion Translation again, it refuses to be jealous when blessing comes to someone else. It doesn't brag about one's own achievements or inflate its own importance. Envy erodes love. It breeds a sort of discontent with what we have. When I'm envious of my friend or a colleague or a sibling or a partner, it destroys the relationship bit by bit. Researchers have concluded, they've been exploring this sort of correlation between envy and pride in digital spaces, and they conclude that self-promotion and boasting and bragging, the things that we see quite a bit, is a way of people dealing with their envy. What someone else has or did, or where they went or what they celebrated, and how quickly this can grow a desire in us to want what we haven't got, or makes us feel inadequate or insecure, rather than the beloved children of God that we are, our true identity. One of our godchildren recently had their 13th birthday, and gifts is not one of my love languages. I'm not very good at gifts. I feel actually quite inadequate around the whole gift giving thing. So I thought, well, I'll ask my friend, what did they buy for their 13-year-old? And then I could copy what they did, but they wouldn't know, that sort of thing. So I said, well, what did you buy? A rifle. They bought him a rifle. So I'm filled with envy. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, she's doing life so much better than me. I mean, I've been buying leotards and ballet shoes and, not rifles. I haven't taught my children the accuracy with a gun or vital skills like this. Oh no, I'm feeling short here and inadequate in my present buying. But love doesn't envy. You can sort the fact from the fiction if you like, by the way. It's the truth. Love isn't proud. The disciples had to work this out too, didn't they? Do you remember that, who gets to sit next to you, Jesus? Can it be me? I mean, I'm one of your close friends. Can I sit next to you in your coming kingdom? Can I be that person? I mean, I'm one of the close ones. I was there up the mountain with you. Can I come? Or Peter, look, I would never deny you. No, I mean, all the rest might, but not me. Like, I'm your closest friend. I'm your real buddy here. I would never deny you, even if the others do. Oh, Peter. In his letter to the church in Philippi, Paul writes, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit. Your attitude should be the same as that of Jesus, who didn't consider equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing. Now, if you're anything like me, you're sitting there thinking, okay, I need to be more patient, I need to be more kind, I'm a bit too envious, I'm a bit too proud. Right, that's all going to be on my list of things to tackle tomorrow. But this is a misplaced emphasis for us. The vertical stake in the ground, remember, is the first bit, where we come to God just as we are. And we think on, and we spend our time on a Sunday morning and other times during the week, the way that George has been reading through her Bible. I mean, how brilliant. She's soaking herself in truth so she can sort the fact from the fiction. We get the vertical bit right first. Us before God, our God of love, whose love for us is large and incredibly patient, incredibly forgiving. There's nothing he wouldn't do for us. There's nothing he wouldn't forgive in us. That verse again, that definition, this is love, that God gave his son for us. God's love never stops giving. It never stops forgiving. That's the vertical bit. The horizontal, the us, how we love each other, that's an outworking that hangs on the vertical bit. That's not a try harder. That's a, oh God, I just want to soak myself. When we were praying before the service, someone said those very words. She said, I just feel like we need to remind people that being in his presence is what we need to be well. I thought that was brilliant. Just being here we are in his presence. Recalibrating, letting our thoughts settle, finding the fact from the fiction. the true love that God has for you and for me. Contrary to what you might experience in this world or on your digital media, God's love will always give. And there's that lovely invitation, take my yoke upon you, says Jesus to us. Come, take my yoke upon you. Learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. So why don't we respond to that invitation from the Lord? Would you like to stand with me? You can close your eyes if you like. Sometimes that helps with just concentrating and thinking, which bits, Lord? One of the words that we sang in a song earlier was, my sin was great, but his love was greater. And I wonder if someone this morning just needs to be reminded of that. Our sin is great, but his love is greater, always greater. So if you're happy to just pop your hands out, it's just an attitude and a posture of receiving. You don't have to, but if you want to. And we ask you, Lord, Holy Spirit, will you come? Come, Holy Spirit. We are open and ready to receive the truths of your love for us this morning.
I think the Holy Spirit wants to fill us with his love so that out of the overflow of that, we find that we are kinder and more patient and less envious and the other things that we've talked about in this series. I can't get out of my head that Georgia said that she came forward for prayer last Sunday. Somebody prayed with her and her Monday morning was just completely different. If you'd like someone to pray with you, to be filled with God's presence and God's love, would you like to come to the front and we'll get someone to pray? You don't have to have a particular thing that you need prayer for. You just know that you want to be filled again with the Lord's Holy Spirit, with the love that he has for you. So come to the front and we'll pray.
I also wonder whether somebody who just never ever heard this before, you didn't even really know that God was a God of love. You thought that he was maybe just angry with you for the stuff you've done. And this morning is perhaps one of those stakes in the ground for you, where you know for the first time that God is a God of love, always on your side.
If the prayer team could begin to come. And others of you, this is our opportunity. It may be that you do this on Tuesday night in a group, so that you've already got a place where people pray for you to be filled with the Holy Spirit. But it may be that you're not in a group right now. I can't believe you can, don't go through week by week never being prayed for to be filled with the love and the Holy Spirit that you need to do the job that you've got to do as a child of God. So just take this opportunity if you'd like anybody to pray with you. And if those on the prayer team could come, we need some more women and some more guys here. Thank you. And we've got a few more minutes before we need to close out and pick up little ones in groups. So we're going to worship as we do that.